So could you tell us about the creative process? How do you go from an idea or a design to a final product in a dress that'll be worn?
So as I was saying, I like to be able to start with the print itself. I think fabric, material, prints, anything, there's so much storytelling in it. And I really think each print has its own story or kind of gives you an idea of, you know, to me, again, I'll just speak for myself, what I think would look good. And so that's where I usually like to start, like with the fabric, the process, even before doing any designs. Just shopping for prints is like one of the most therapeutic things for me. So once I have that, then depending on what it's, how it speaks to me is what I will design something. And then from there, the designs, the fabric, the sizes, are given to the women, and then they then take over that process and will bring it to life. And then once the clothing is done, then it's brought over here as well too. So as I was saying, I also work with my mother who lives in Ghana. So on the continent and in Ghana, she's the one that takes care of that element. So she, will go to the women's place and make sure everything is, constructed how I would deem appropriate in terms of my standards. She does know me with that respect. And then from there, we will bring them over here. Now in Toronto, the process looks a little bit different because what I'll do is most of the things I will import from the continent will go onto the website. But here in Toronto, we've been getting more and more custom orders. And so how that works is if somebody already has print, somebody already has their fabric, and they're looking to make that into whatever outfit they're looking for, then I'll sit down with them. We'll come up with a design. If they don't have one, if they have one, they let me know. And then I'm currently working with a Nigerian woman and 2 Ghanaian women here in Toronto. And they will make the clothing. We'll have a consultation, make sure all alterations and everything are done, and then off they go with their clothing.
How long would it normally take to go from a design to a finished dress?
So depending on, for instance, here for custom orders, I like to have at least a 2-week turnaround. Sometimes if we're busy or if it's coming from Ghana, then it's a little bit longer. But generally, it's about a week or 2 here to have it done.
In what price ranges your dresses would sell for?
Yeah, so here we do anything from shirts to pants. We do mini skirts, longer skirts, pencil skirts to dresses. So our shirts usually start anywhere from $25 and up. Dresses, you're looking at anywhere from $80 to $200. And our skirts are generally around the range of $45 to $65. Again, because I do want this to be a social business, because I do understand that economic disparities obviously are also present here, even in the West. I try to make sure that the clothing is accessible. So yeah, anywhere from $20 to $200, depending again on some of the custom orders. It may be a little bit higher, but we try to stay within that price range.
So what type of occasions would ladies normally, you do clothing for both men and women, or
No, right now
women?
it's just women.
Just women. And so these ladies, what occasions would they normally get a dress made for?
So we've done dresses for weddings. So if anybody's going to somebody's wedding, we've done dresses for birthday parties. I have one client who we make all of her birthday dresses for her parties. Some church events, so some people, we had one client whose son was getting baptized. And so we did, actually, I'm going to take that back. We have done a few things for men, but that's just on the side, custom orders, not on the website.
So there's a chance.
Yes. Yes, we did do something for him. And, for the whole family for baptism. So parties, last week a client went to somebody's 50th birthday party, and so she got something made for that. I think, and then also summertime. When summertime comes, when spring is coming, a lot of women are looking to look and dress a little bit different than everybody else. And I think the prints are just bold and bright, and it's refreshing, right? You know that you're never going to go somewhere looking like somebody else. So for the summertime, we also just generally get a lot of orders as well too.
So tell me now, who inspires you? What designers out there would you say you look to for inspiration?
I think for me, I'm inspired by knowing that I get to do what it is that I love. And that there's this craft that these women have, and I'm able to engage with them and give them an opportunity to bring their craft and their talents to life. Like, that to me is very inspiring. The opportunity to merge both fashion forward creations as well with politics, right? As well with being able to create a movement. Like, for me, those are some of the things that drive and inspire me. But in terms of mainstream fashion, I think what really got me to this point is realizing that we have something that is so special. The prints are so beautiful. You look at major designers, and a lot of them are emulating things from the continent, but never really giving it a name, right? A lot of them are using so many of our prints and making so much money off of it, but never is there any credit given back to the continent or where it's coming from or who it's making it. And I think for me, this is an opportunity to make that political statement. It's an opportunity to kind of reclaim that and say, this is who we are. This is what comes from us, and to be able to, in my way, resist and give back as well too.
So I understand. So there's a political statement being made as well,
Yeah.
besides being entirely fashionable.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this as well. For every new business, right, you normally face some amount of challenges, and there's growing pains. Could you tell us some of the different obstacles that you faced along the way and how you were able to surmount these different obstacles?
So I think there's this concept that starting a business is rather easy, especially nowadays with there's a growing number of people that are becoming more entrepreneurial. But yeah, absolutely, as you're saying, there are growing pains. So I know for me, especially as somebody who for most of my life has been very capitalist, anti-corporate business, it's a challenge having to kind of educate yourself outside of something that's not your norm. For me, some of the challenges of, is this ethical, and, how do I do this in a way that sits well with me where I can sleep at night? Those are some of the challenges in the beginning. But I think even in terms of like financially, right? I don't want to get to the point where I have to take out a huge loan. And so, thankfully for my family, I've been able to do this all on my own, which is not easy. But again, that in itself is something that I want to make sure is also political. I don't want to have a huge amount of debt because of this. And if I do have that family support, which, I definitely acknowledge that privilege in being able to run this on my own and with my parents. But those are elements that everybody thinks about, right? Financial literacy, having to take courses or have tough conversations with other people to give me, to say, I don't know what this is. Can you help me out with this? This isn't, if you're starting a business, it's really taught me to check my pride and to learn to ask for help where I need it. And then even currently, another challenge is finding people who are in line with your vision, who understand where that motivation, where that passion comes from, and are able to emulate that even in a little bit. That has definitely been challenging. I mean, we're going on 4 years next year, and it's still been a challenge to build up a team, to find people who understand that it's not just clothing, but we're working with women, some of them who, again, are HIV positive. And, like you asked, how long does it take to get clothing done? I'm also cognizant that sometimes somebody may get sick, right? And the way in which I have to approach that is very different than how I may approach anybody else that's HIV negative, who may take certain things for granted. And so even in terms of confidentiality, disclosure, not everybody's comfortable disclosing their HIV status, and how do you navigate that? So there's been a lot of challenges in terms of maybe, human resources and balancing some of those acts, financial, as well as just really ensuring that the integrity of this baby that I gave birth to is able to grow and still have the necessary, like the essence isn't lost, that the foundation that is there is what we're rooted in as we grow every year, and that I don't lose sight. I don't lose sight of the name. I don't lose sight. I don't think we talked about it, but, even on the website, there's little elements. All of our, the collection names are very personal to me. MM1 Couture, for instance, MM1 was my grandparents' address. We have Almina, which kind of, it's a play on words with Al, like to be feminine. There's one that's called Plant Love, which is like a tribute and an honor to Mother Nature, which I think is very, very crucial. We have Labadi Love, who today on Twitter, for instance, somebody asked me if Labadi Love is named after Labadi Beach, which is a beach in Ghana. Mm-hmm. And it is, right? And like those are the moments. Those are the nuanced moments that to me make such a huge difference when somebody can relate that back to the continent and say, oh, I love that beach. I'm like, yeah, absolutely, right? Because when we think about Africa, beaches aren't always the first thing that come to us. Like we're ingrained to have these flies flying around faces, this world vision kind of notion of what Africa is. And so if I can have the opportunity to say, yes, my collection, which is, all blues, I love water, is tied back to Ghana, is tied back to a beach. And not only that, but they know that the beach is a beautiful beach. Then those are some of the things that make the challenges worth it. But yeah, growing pains, something as simple as even photo shoots, starting off trying to work with few models. Who are we working with? I've done some shoots with friends because, again, I want to give people who wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to be quote unquote considered models, right? Different body types, different shapes, all kinds of women. But you run the risk of people not seeing that as valid, right? Of not seeing that as a real model. And those are challenges, but I think that's why I started this, right? Is to challenge the norm, to challenge people's assumptions of what is normal.